RotoGrinders. Welcome to DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka BlenderEd, Blender HD. If you want to follow me there on Twitter, and it's Mondays. You know what we do on Mondays? It's Mondays with McCool. James McCool, paydirt_DFS, the co-author with me on the theory of daily fantasy sports. It's a 15-hour audio DFS masterclass that you can pick up at theoryofdfs.com. Me and James going over yesterday's Sunday NFL slate. James, from your face, it seems like you didn't do so
well. Worst week of the season so far.
Worst week of the season. Oh, I actually won money yesterday.
I got swept. I mean, bad. It was probably, definitely for sure my worst week of the season. But like that kind of stuff is going to happen when 66% owned Dearness Johnson. Just
you faded Dearness?
I do, and I'm going to talk about that. Or I did, and I'm going to talk about that.
Okay.
But like when he gets there, not only gets there, right, but is like one of the top scoring running backs or like top three, right?
Well, I think Ramondre Stevenson was the top scorer.
Ramondre Stevenson and Jonathan Taylor both outscored him. I know that for sure.
And McCaffrey did.
McCaffrey did. Okay.
But I mean, for the price, for 4,700.
Who cost twice as much as he did outscored him a little bit. And then Ramondre Stevenson outscored him. But when 66% owned, Dearness Johnson just goes wild. I'm going to get shattered. And the other thing was that I had a Tampa Bay stack and I had a Seattle stack. And, and I had an Atlanta stack. So, we move on.
Right. Yeah. Yesterday was good for me. I mean, cash games. If you didn't play the lineup, if you didn't play the lineup.
Yeah, the lineup, right? Yeah,
the collusion people on Reddit are going to be out in full force or whatever. I mean, there was no. I aggregate projections. I look at tons of stuff around the industry. Other than some minor, like instead of playing like Keenan Allen, you play Cole Beasley, and then instead of playing James Conner, you play Najee Harris. Lions to Titans. There were some marginal 2v2s depending on what you were looking at, but for the most part, Prescott, Ingram, Johnson, Evans, Allen, Adams, Arnold, Conner, Lions. Like we could even see in the $250 single entry double up, like this 152.74 lineup. It's like look, it keeps on going. Like then this is single entry, so it's like all these guys keep on going. Go to the next one. So it seems like ninth place. There were out of 223 entries, there were looks like 64 with the same lineup. And then we have a whole bunch, then there's another train, like I think 147 or something like that. Last week, you remember, I didn't play cash games on Draftkings.
Yeah.
I entered cash games in the morning, on Sunday morning. Once I saw this. Once I saw that it was a prove it week in cash, like I'm running all these lineups and going like that I can't see how this is not like a massively duplicated lineup. It's such the most straightforward lineup that why don't I take advantage of the people that are going to make the mistakes? So especially entering contests at like 10:30 in the morning on Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm catching all the late people. I'm getting into all the $5 double ups, that are being created Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Right. I'm getting into all that. I created $55 head-to-heads, $10 head-to-heads. Half of my head-to-heads I tied. Okay. So I'm going to get the rake refund back on that. But I just saw that it wasn't going to be like a 2v2 fest of like, are you going to have one of the, are you going to have Michael Pittman or you going to have the other guy and whoever went, and then you go, you're dead. Right. Type of thing. So it's like, do I want to get on the train or do I not want to get on the train? So I decided to get on the train and I made some money. FanDuel was very, very similar, but I was already playing cash games on FanDuel to begin with.
Yeah.
But my lineup on FanDuel was, I think, the same lineup. Other than the fact that I had Josh Allen in the Bills defense. I played the exact
was great. Yeah.
Right. They played the exact same lineup, right? The guy that I wasn't as thrilled about in cash games was Mike Evans.
So you and I both know that the way that I build cash games is different. I don't use an optimizer. I use cash games. Here's what I put down for my cash score in my article. Dearness Johnson, Devontae Adams, Mark Ingram, Dan Arnold, Keenan Allen, Dak Prescott, James Conner. It was so easy. I mean, you didn't even need an optimizer to build the collusion lineup this week. And like you were just saying, the guy that I was not sure belonged in there was Mike Evans. And the only reason for that was because of Chris Godwin. And I wasn't sure, like, if he was going to be as highly. He ended up being very highly owned, 35%.
Well, that's the reason why I played him. I mean, Evans with Godwin active, like, he's fine.
Yeah.
But also he's a wide range of outcomes. Like he's not someone that typically gets double-digit targets.
He's the deep.
So it's like you have to rely on long plays and touchdowns. But when I see when 1 PM comes around and lock hits and I see 78% owned in my cash games, it's like, oh, good, well, good. Then I'm just walking there. So what else am I going to do? So like that's, to me, he was like the guy that I didn't think was necessary, but everyone was going to play him anyway.
I think I might have gone with, like, before the Ben Roethlisberger news, Deontay Johnson was the plug in there, right?
Right. I would have played Deontay exactly right. That's correct.
I think maybe Amari Cooper was another guy that you could have put there, but it gets a little bit thin. I mean, Mike Evans was fine at 6,900, projected well, and yeah.
Some people went up from Dak to Josh Allen and then played like Jerry Jeudy or Cole Beasley in that 5K range. I mean, that's fine. I mean,
Cole Beasley, yeah,
right. Like I could see that, but I mean, to me, it was just so straightforward that if you were not on this type of lineup, I don't know why to reassess your process. But I just wanted to just highlight it because, like, the past 2 weeks, I wasn't playing DK cash games, and I just decided last minute, it's like, I don't think I can make a mistake here. Like I really don't think I'm going to make there's no mistake to be made. I'm just going to let everyone else make the mistakes. So there you go. In GPPs, however, I built 20 lineups, and then what I did is I built 20 lineups for the small field, the wildcat and the power sweep and the spies and stuff like that. Then I built 60 lineups for the slant, and then 60 lineups for like a Mick. I had a bunch of Millie tickets, so I had 20 Millie entries, and then I did 20. Basically, I did those 60 lineups for the slant. I also played in like the Millie or the power, the play action, and I cut and paste my lineups wrong.
Sure.
I forgot when I cut and paste the 60 lineups into the slant that the rest of that I had to cut and paste into the other lineups also. And I did not get that in time. I realized that at like 12:59 and I did not get that in, but my alternate cash lineup, which had Cole Beasley in it, was very similar lineup to my cash lineup. Just instead of Keenan Allen, it was Cole Beasley. Instead of the Lions, it was the Bills defense. Was like a train in the play action and the Millie, and it doubled its money.
No, of course it did.
Right, of course. So I mean, so it ended up being fine anyway.
Yeah.
But I focused when I ran lineups, and I was running the 20 lineups that I wanted to build. I was focusing a lot more on the Cowboys because it made no sense this is one of those that made no sense.
Yeah.
Tom Brady. The reason I wasn't getting as many Tom Brady lineups is because Evans and Tyler Johnson even were being pulled along. Like, we take a look at the ownership here across the board. I have the Wildcat, the slant, the Millie, and the play action across. Mike Evans, 31% average.
Yeah.
Right. And then we have where's Tyler Johnson, 11%. So it's like Evans's ownership is bringing Brady. I mean, Brady's the highest on quarterback, 15% across the board. So if I were to play Tom Brady lineups, I would be playing Tom Brady plus Evans plus Godwin. And like I said, probably a much higher owned combination, but Dak wasn't bringing along like ownership for the Cowboys wide receivers. I mean, excessive ownership. Like Cooper was 13% on average across these contests. Gallup was 8% across on average. And Lamb was 10%. So it's like double stacks of Dak or even Dalton Schultz, 5%. It just seemed like Dak had the highest quarterback projection. I think he was in the best game environment. He has receivers you could stack with, so I've no issue with that whatsoever. And the highest owned receiver is 13%. So like 13% of my, if I do Cooper Gallup, Lamb, Schultz, anything like that, like I don't care about Prescott's ownership. And at that point, for the smaller field contests, smaller to mid-sized field contests, I felt like I had enough leverage. Like if you take a look, I even have my 20 lineups that I played still saved in here. Like my top lineup, I played in this was my double style lineup: Prescott, Gallup, Lamb, with Kyle Pitts as the run back. Then I played Ingram, Johnson, Connor, Devontae Adams, and the Browns and I would use the Browns defense, who came in at like 3% owned, as kind of like the correlation with Dearness Johnson to get me slightly different, right? So I'm not playing the Titans or the Cardinals, right? Of course, they got -2. I mean, it didn't help me, but that was the thinking behind it. That this lineup for like the double spy was good enough. I mean, because the ownership on the Cowboys receivers was just not high enough for Dak to be 16% owned, and none of the receivers to really be that owned. So I played a bunch of those types of lineups.
It was a weird split between the wide receivers for sure.
Right. Now, obviously my Lamb lineups did very well.
Well, yeah.
Also when I built a bunch of lineups, I was not focusing, like you see here, not focusing on, I didn't need a Falcon in the lineup. And if I was going to use a Falcon, it most likely was going to be Kyle Pitts in the tight end spot. And the same thing with Tampa Bay. Like, I just didn't feel like it. Like, let me take a look at I have one Tom Brady line. Right. Tom Brady. Yeah, I think I had I think in like this line, I had like Ricky Seals-Jones, like a tight end. So I had Brady, Johnson, Evans. And then you have and the rest of my lineup is Dearness Johnson in the Browns defense, James Conner. So this lineup doesn't have Ingram, but it has DeAndre Swift. I had a lot of DeAndre Swift. I had DeAndre Swift as the most under-owned running back on the slate.
Yeah, I really like DeAndre Swift too.
And he ended up salvaging and getting there. But I mean, a lot of running backs you needed running backs to each get like 20 points. If you didn't, then you weren't competitive.
Yeah.
You needed to get there in some fashion. But obviously, Dearness Johnson and Mark Ingram both, and Ramondre Stevenson for under 5K all got there. So you didn't even need to spend up at running back. But you see, these lineups that I'm building are not like, I mean, they're not that contrarian, right? I'm still playing. Look, I mean, my exposures in my 20, if you want to count my exposures in the 20 lineups that I'm building, and I'm building this for primarily a 3,000 to 5,000 person field. Like, I have Connor, I have Johnson, I have Ingram, I have Adams, but I just have a lot of Swift. I have a lot of, the Cowboys, Cooper and Gallup. I played my stack selection. I had, out of my 20, I had 6 Dak lineups, 5 Herbert lineups, 4 Russell Wilson lineups, 3 Josh Allen lineups, 1 Brady, and 1 Matt Ryan. I thought Herbert, Allen, Cook. Maybe you play Mike Williams. Those types of lineups. You could run it back with Dalvin Cook, but I don't even know if that's necessary. I had one with KJ Osborne. He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
The problem with I also in the lineups that I was building, I removed the secondary correlation in the lineups. Maybe it turns out it probably hurt me. But you know why I did that is because I was getting too much AJ Brown and too much Jacoby Myers. Now you're thinking if you're watching at home, listening on the podcast, you're going, well, what does one player have to do with the other? Well, think about it. You're putting in if you're forcing in secondary correlations and you're looking for high projections, well, Ingram and Johnson are both high projected point per dollar running backs. And across from Ingram is the Titans. So that's AJ Brown in the wide receiver spot. Across from Johnson is Jacoby Myers. And Brown and Myers projected okay. They weren't poorly projected, but they weren't greatly projected. But Ingram and Johnson's projection makes up for that. So the combination of the two starts jamming him I'm running lineups and I'm getting like, why am I having so much Jacoby Myers? Why am I playing so much AJ Brown, which I didn't mind? But it's like, how much Jacoby Myers? Do I want both sides of this game environment of Cleveland, New England? Do I want both sides of this game environment and the Saints and the Titans? I was low on that, right? I was more likely to play Adams and Metcalf. I mean, talk about a game dudding. That game was almost as bad as the Steelers-Lions game. The Steelers-Lions game was just a joke. But that's the reason. Like here's an AJ Brown lineup that I played, right? Ingram, Brown. But I just didn't want like half my lineups to have that.
Well, and the secondary correlations, if you turn those on, then you're going to be getting less of those running back combinations that you wanted. Because it looks like you played a lot of running back in the flex.
Yeah, I played a ton of running back in the flex. Because I was playing, because look, the running back had the best value on the slate.
Right.
The best values on the slate were at running back. And I thought that I thought Connor would be underowned, and he was. Got a horrible game script, and he ended up salvaging and getting something, 15, 16 points. I thought Connor was underowned. I thought Swift was underowned. Any other week, Swift would be 25% owned in this spot, and he wasn't because there were so many good running backs to play.
Right.
So I was just jamming them in, and Johnson and Ingram are the two best values in the entire slate, regardless of position. So just however they fit in, they fit in. I think I made a player group. I built a player group to make sure. Yeah, what I did is I put in Johnson, Ingram, Adams, Allen, and Evans, and I said use at most 3. I first did a run with using only 2, but then I was getting lineups that didn't project as like they just weren't worth it. It's like only 2. I was getting a lot of Johnson, Ingram, and then 3 wide receivers that are completely contrarian.
Yeah.
Or what I would get Adams, Allen, and Evans, and then get 2 running backs. Like it would be completely lopsided the other direction. So I upped this to 3. I mean, I could have controlled this with like max lineup ownership type of thing, but everyone was so close to each other that I thought it was easier to just do it this way. It's like I don't necessarily the ownership sum didn't matter as much this week because there was some of the that's why like these Cowboy guys were just not owned enough for how owned Dak was, and I was playing enough different people, playing so much DeAndre Swift with Cowboys receivers that in a 3,000 to 5,000 person contest, like I'm good. I'm not playing chalk. There was no like chalk defense to fade. So most of my defenses were single digit owned. So it's like, okay.
This was one of those weeks where it's why I tell everybody that people ask me like, what is the ownership aggregate that you want to stay under? I'm like, it's completely slate dependent. Because like this slate, if you would have applied like a 135% ownership aggregate or something, which is what I usually use in baseball. If you apply that to this in NFL, like you're missing out on a lot if you're running optimizations.
Right. And especially if you're playing smaller field stuff. If you're playing larger field stuff, you could get even crazier. So like my lineups, like the only reason my lineups looked as chalky, which they really weren't, is because the Dallas stack in combination was not nearly as high. Like, I mean, I didn't have as high owned in combination. I had the Tampa Bay one higher. I had the Herbert one higher in combination, like a Herbert, Allen, Cook lineup.
Yeah.
Like that combination there's going to be much more combinations of that specific one than the Dallas ones because there's multiple Dallas guys to choose from. Mm-hmm. That's also the reason why in my 20 lineups, I played more Godwin than Evans. Because if Godwin is full strength or whatever, then there's no reason for Mike Evans to be twice as owned as Godwin on the slate.
Yeah.
So like I just naturally was getting more Godwin. But obviously a lot of the chalk hit yesterday. So if you played if you played much more contrarian, you got killed. And I'm assuming that's what ended up happening with you. So what types of lineups were obviously you picked what you had Brady, Wilson, and Ryan.
Yeah.
So that killed you right. I mean, Brady had 2 picks in the beginning.
Oh, I was shot from the start. I was shot basically by like 12:30 p.m. my time. I already knew that I was just dead in the water. And most of that just comes on the back of like, things started out okay. Like Dearness Johnson, I think had like 6.7 fantasy points, something like that at half.
Right. And Mark Ingram barely had anything.
Yeah, he had like 3 fantasy points at half. And I was like, okay, sure, fine. Like that fade is going fine. I don't have a problem with that.
So what did you do at running back then? Did you fade both of them?
Yeah, I did. I thought so. Dearness Johnson, I thought was okay. I thought Dearness Johnson was okay if Cleveland is able to play that game like under their script. And let me just say really quick that if you told me yesterday that the Patriots would win 45-7 and Dearness Johnson wouldn't score a touchdown and he was 65% owned, I would have emptied my bank account into the slate.
Right.
I would have literally emptied. I would have played like 100 times my regular volume to fade him. So I thought that he was okay though. Like I wrote in my article, he's fine. I don't hate the play. I had him projected for something like 14 or 15 fantasy points, which was fine. Like whatever, at 4,500, that's fine. Mark Ingram, I thought was a really, really bad play at the ownership that he was at. So him and Ramondre Stevenson, I thought were about the same play. But Ramondre Stevenson comes in at 5% owned and Mark Ingram comes in at 35% owned. And with what we know about the way that the Saints like to use a committee approach, they like to use Taysom Hill on the goal line. They like to be able to do like little dump offs. I did not think that Mark Ingram was going to be as involved in the passing game and as involved in the goal line as he needed to be to kill me in tournaments. I thought that his range was probably somewhere between maybe 9 and 15, 16 fantasy points. And I'm fine fading that at 4,500. This is not me saying that I thought that he was going to get none of the work and that he was going to get
you ran bad, James.
Oh, I ran
Ty Montgomery got injured. Ty Montgomery in the beginning, when he was the passing, Ingram was just basically running the ball the first 2 plays and coming off the field. And Ty Montgomery got a hand injury, and now all of a sudden they have no more running backs.
I basically could not have ran worse yesterday, and that's fine. Like that happens.
But who did you play? Then who did you put in your running back spot?
So at running back, I really liked Ezekiel Elliott. I thought Ezekiel Elliott was a really, really good play to leverage the Dallas stuff. So I had in my 3 lineups, I had 2 Ezekiel Elliott lineups, and that was great. I was happy about that. I also had 2 Leonard Fournette lineups because I thought that Tom Brady being the highest owned quarterback, it was good to have leverage on him
and Evans.
Leonard Fournette.
Right.
And that was good. And then I had in my Atlanta stack, I had Cordell Patterson as a correlation with Matt Ryan because he has been so involved in the passing game. And then I had Michael Carter as my other one because I thought Michael Carter was far under-owned and kind of getting ignored based on, he had those 2 games where he had 20+% target share. And in a script like this, it would have made sense. Mike White is back. He gets a lot of targets, and he did. And he did well. He put up like 18 fantasy points.
Well, what are the rest of your lineups? Okay. So show me a lineup. Tell me one of the tell me one of these Elliott Fournette lineups.
Okay. So the Elliott Fournette lineup was Aaron Rodgers, and this was Russell Wilson, but then I switched it over because late swap. It was Aaron Rodgers, Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf, Mike Williams, Gerald Everett, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and the Lions defense. So I went all in on that game with Russell Wilson coming back, Aaron Rodgers coming back, blah, blah, blah.
But you gave up so much projection in that lineup. Why?
So, well, if I am fading Mark Ingram and I'm fading Dearness Johnson,
well, obviously you can play why didn't you play Keenan Allen? Why didn't you play? I mean, why not?
I couldn't. Why not
play? Who did you play in the tight end spot?
Gerald Everett.
Instead of Dana, well, because he was part of the stack, I guess. It's just, I
mean,
you read off that lineup.
My point on it is that after I was already fading those 2 things, there's no reason for me to even care about my loss of projection at that point.
You want to raise it as much as possible. Of course you do.
I already know that since I am fading those things, my projection at that point, if they fail, doesn't matter because of their ownership. It doesn't matter. Like the amount of ownership that I dropped. You want to raise
the rest of the projection, the rest of your lineup.
The rest of the projection was fine. Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf, Mike Williams, Gerald Everett.
Go. No, I'm going to put it up on the screen. Go through this. Okay. So what was it originally? So we can't. So it was Russell Wilson.
It was Russell Wilson with, I think instead of what do I have for it? I think it was Russell Wilson, Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, Devontae
Okay, hold on.
Adams.
I'm locking these in. Hold on.
I'm sorry. I'm running through it.
Okay, Elliott, Fournette. Who do you have at the wide receiver slots?
It was Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf.
Okay, let me find DK. Okay, that's fine. And
then I had, it was, I think, Freddie Swain, Justin Jefferson, and Jared Cook.
what? So you had Jefferson in this lineup?
Yes.
Why'd you have Jefferson in this lineup?
Against Jared Cook for tight end.
Oh, against Jared. Okay, and I thought you had Everett in this lineup.
Yeah.
Everett and Cook?
No. Cook and Freddie Swain.
Oh, okay. Cook and Freddie's. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me put this in. Swain. Let's see if this makes sense. I mean, I know it's not, but
right. Yeah. You already have made up your mind that this doesn't make sense.
okay. And then what's your no? This can't be your lineup because you only have $1,600 left.
Okay, so I must have been.
This can't be Jefferson.
I don't remember what it might have been Adam Thielen instead of Justin Jefferson.
But it was Swain in the lineup?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, let me put Swain in. Jared Cook, Thielen, and then you have 2,600 for
defense.
defense.
There it is. Okay, and then I had the
Titans defense. Titans defense is 2,600.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Whatever defense. Yeah.
Okay, so I had in my aggregate projections, this is a lineup that has an ownership sum of 83.
Yeah.
And a projection of 132.96.
Yeah.
And my lowest, like out of my 20 that I played, my lowest projected lineup was 143.38.
Yeah, because yeah,
but my ownership was still fine. My ownership was 122. Like the lineup that you made, if you wanted to play in the millie,
mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have as much of an issue with. But like in the power sweep, this what are you doing? This is ridiculous. I mean, well, yeah. Well, I mean,
obviously,
my top lineup that I was playing was projected for 154 points.
Yeah.
Yours is 133. I mean, yours is 21 points off.
Yeah.
Yes, you're getting the ownership to go along with it, but that's a hell of a lot of You're giving up what? You're giving up 3 touchdowns? For what? For in the power sweep. Like I said, if this was the millie lineup, I'd go for it. That's fine.
But again, knowing that I'm fading the 3 highest owned players on the slate.
Yeah, but you can make up a lineup. Then fine. Here, look. Hold on. We're going to do this. I don't mind scolding you.
Oh, I know.
Scolding you for
we do it every week.
Right. I know. I do it every weekend. So let's take away. I'm taking away Dearness Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Xing him out. I'm Xing out Ingram. Okay. Yeah. I'm just running it to see whatever. Okay. Now we got a lineup that's Prescott, Harris, Swift, Johnson, Myers, Adams, Arnold, Connor, Titans, and it's projected at 150.64. Now, obviously, this isn't a stack. So let's say you were to play. Let's go put this down to 5 lineups or whatever. I'm gonna run it just to see, because most likely you're playing probably some type of 3+1 type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you were going to do that regardless. So now we're going to put that in 3+1 and make sure it's wide receiver, tight end, and a run back, whatever. What's the top 5 lineups without those 2 guys in? I think I'd have to change my build rules. Hold on. I've number of unique players 1. Let's bump all these down. Let's put these all down. Okay, I got this. Okay. Let's see.
You're still not going your rules. Oh, never mind.
Right. So yeah, you got Prescott, Gallup, Cooper. You pretty much have the lineup I played, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Right. I mean, look at these lineups. I mean, Prescott, Gallup, Cooper, Connor, Swift, Adams, Arnold, Pitts. I mean, if you don't want double tight end or something like that, here's one. Prescott, here's your Patterson lineup, right? Obviously, you're using Dak here, right? So these are lineups that project for 149, 147, 147. right? You know, they're still owned 130s, 130, 134 based on projected ownership.
Yeah.
Let's say you didn't play Dak, right? So we're going to get rid of, because you didn't play a Cowboy stack, because you have to get even more different for whatever reason, right? So I'm going to get rid of Dak.
I did have an Atlanta stack, okay?
Oh, but that's the other side of the game. Okay, so these are Herbert lineups.
Yeah.
Okay. So
and those make sense. I liked Herbert this week.
Right, Herbert, Allen, Cook, and they use Conklin as the run back.
That makes sense.
So you're basically double tight ending it there also. But still, you're getting Swift, you're getting Connor, you're getting Adams, you're getting Allen, you're getting, I mean, so let's say you didn't play her. Let's get rid of Herbert now. Get rid of Herbert. So then what would the next be? Let's go. Okay, Mason Rudolph. Matt. Okay, here's a Matt Ryan lineup.
Yeah.
Ryan, Gage, Pitts, Amari Cooper, and it's still double tight end because you're using Tyler Conklin, DeAndre Swift, James Conner. But look at okay. And so instead of looking at the players, here's Carson Wentz lineups with T.Y. Hilton and Michael Pittman.
Makes sense.
If you're fading both D'Ernest Johnson and Michael and Mark Ingram, these lineups are coming in at like 145s.
Yeah.
Okay, so why are you playing a lineup that's 132? Like if your lineup was 140, I'd be like, okay, sacrificed a little, but it seems like you faded both those guys and then still played a lineup that is down by 2 more touchdowns.
So
in the power suite, but the key is the contest size. Fine. I just want to say.
Here's the problem that I had this week. I focused too much on trying to be contrarian because of the perceived ownership of D'Ernest Johnson and Mark Ingram. I admit that I got wrecked this week. Like I did bad this week.
Yeah, but I don't want to get into your process. It's your results. But I think you got wrecked because you took the 2 most obvious leverage points, the most high owned players, and then decided, no, I got to do 3 more things on top of that instead of just like once you do that, you're fine. I mean, obviously those 2 plays ended up, killing you because you could have gotten the same amount of points at running back for 4,500.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm just talking about from a prod. Like I'm expecting that once you fade both of them, that the rest of your lineup should be, you probably have Brady, Evans, Adam. I mean, you should have most like the highest projected players from there. And I can understand you getting different with your lineup if you only faded one of them in the lineup.
Sure. Like
if you wanted to like play that Russell Wilson, Adams, Metcalf type of lineup and said, well, I'm going to play Leonard Fournette as leverage on Evans, but I'm going to play D'Ernest or Ingram with them. Like the projection would have gone up and the ownership would have gone up with it, but not an 83 ownership sum lineup for the power sweep just is wacky. Just like
it's super
way
low. Yeah.
Unless you projected stuff differently. Is there any, I mean, we could get into, what the weird projected player of the week is, but I can't see some of the chalkier players that we had on this slate being that much dramatically. Like, what did you have D'Ernest Johnson as a median projection?
Around 14.
Oh yeah. You were way, I am 19.
So
how about Ingram? What did you have Ingram at?
Around 14. I had him, Ramondre Stevenson, and Mark Ingram basically projected in the same range.
Okay.
Of like 12 to 15.
What'd you have Connor at?
Not 20.
Okay. 16, 17?
Looks like 12.
12? I mean,
this week.
Well, yeah. Well, then now everything makes sense because you look at your projection and it's like,
I built the lineup that we are looking at here, and I have about 139. So I was still low.
Right, but my lineup have to come down because I have 5 points higher than you on Johnson, Ingram, and I have 8 points higher than you on Connor.
Right.
How does that happen? Why are you so low on these guys?
Game script mostly, I think.
Dearness Johnson's the only running back for the Browns. What does it matter?
You're telling me that if you thought that they were going to lose 45-7, that you would still expect Dearness Johnson to have 20 fantasy points.
No, of course not. But I mean, if he's the only running back and they're behind, he's going to catch 8 passes. Yeah, well, that's what happened.
That is not what happened.
Yes, Dearness Johnson caught 8 passes.
Right, but that's not what you expect to happen.
Of course not. No, I know that, but that's why you project that in his range of outcomes.
No, that isn't. You never project that to happen. I think that's silly. So that's why I was low. I think that I was low because I was distributing the target distribution around to different people and not running back. I think I just.
Oh, you gave him all the Donovan Peoples-Jones, of course, obviously. DPJ probably had a 6-point projection. All of Dearness's target volume went to DPJ, of course.
It did. No, I think I went to tight end. I think I went like David Njoku, and I gave some more to Jarvis Landry. I spread that more around because they're not typically a team that wants to utilize checkdowns a whole bunch if they're going to be like in that position. Now, granted, I did not project New England to win 45-7. And still, again, did you
project Jacoby Myers to catch his first touchdown?
I did not. Hold on. What did I have for Jacoby Myers touchdown projection?
I'm only down like 97% playing him now. I am at 12.95. He would have gotten in all my Dearness Johnson lineups. I should have left the secondary stack in.
You should have. You would have crushed.
Yeah, but I also would have had a ton of AJ Brown, and that wouldn't have done well.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, like I had a bad week, and I think most of that was just focused on me focusing too much on being different. And for the most part, like I liked a Dallas stack. I was fine with that. I thought that the Atlanta stack built out better because of what you could do with Cordero Patterson and Kyle Pitts. So I like that. And if I drop down there from Leonard Fournette down to Dearness Johnson, then I go up from Michael Gallup to CeeDee Lamb, and that lineup's fine.
Right. So there you go. Then that's all that you need to do is correct that mistake.
Right.
You just have to eat a little bit. You still have to eat a little bit of chalk if it projects well. I mean, I think I'm scolding you on something because you projected both of these running backs like based on your projection. Like I had Johnson and Ingram projected owned at 38 and 32%. They came in average across these contests 52 and 31. And if you told me that Dearness Johnson only had a 14-point median projection and was going to be 40% owned, then he wouldn't have made any of them. He literally I would have had none of them.
If you would have told me that he was going to be 66% owned, I would have faded him no matter what.
No, you can't say no matter what.
Pretty much no matter, unless he projects for like 25 fantasy points. Yeah, I'm fading him.
There's ways to build lineups with
65% ownership.
You still ways to build lineups with them.
That's insane ownership for a running back in like an uncertain position.
I'm just looking at the numbers. I don't care about the position or anything. I'm just like, yes, are there less ways to make good lineups with them? Yes, you're right, because of the ownership. But there's still way. I mean, it's not.
And you did it. Like you put together good lineups with them. I totally understand. I'm not arguing that.
Yeah, but what I'm arguing is not. I'm trying to defend you, James. You had both these guys projected 5 points lower than the rest of the industry.
Yeah.
So, like, when you're 5 points lower, then you're not sacrificed by not playing them. I say you're sacrificing 10 points by not playing them. You go, I'm not sacrificing any points by not playing them. Right.
And I'm gaining an ownership discount.
Right. Well, exactly. So to your point, but my problem is I think your projections were bad.
Yeah, no, on running back. So I actually don't think that the projection was bad on Ingram. On Johnson, had I known that he was going to have that target share, he would have been a better play.
Okay. Did you have anyone that's like, okay, who's the ridiculous guy that you had that had a projection that I'm gonna laugh at you about?
I think it's just Donovan Peoples-Jones again this week.
Again?
Yeah.
Again?
Well, I mean, he still maintained like an 8 out of like 18. I guess if we can like put a different.
Did you play him in a lineup? Did you play him?
I did have him in one lineup. Yeah.
What did you have his projection for? Median.
15.
Yeah. That's stupid.
So I dropped it too.
I am 8.55. So like that's
he was projecting way better than that too. And I was like, I'll drop it.
This is what bothers me. You on your projections, you're fading Dearness Johnson.
Yeah.
You have this massive projection of Donovan Peoples-Jones. Why aren't you playing him in the non-Dearness Johnson lineups?
I did play him in a lineup.
Oh, okay.
I only have 3 lineups.
All right, I know.
So
okay, at least you played him.
I'm not some dick that builds projections and doesn't follow them. Of course I played him.
I mean, Peoples-Jones came in at 1, 2, 4, 4%.
7% owned in the play action.
Yeah. But I mean, you weren't playing the play action because people are chasing the lower stakes. Stupid people are chasing last week's game, and you went along with them, and you got your big 2.6 points. Way to go!
It's a beautiful thing. I think. Let's see. What can we go into? I mean, I guess like the crazy projection is me being low on Dearness Johnson this week, right? We can say that that's the crazy one.
Well, the Peoples-Jones one is nuts. You have him double. I mean.
Well, yeah, but that's boring. We did that one last week.
What'd you project for Michael Gallup?
Not that high.
I have him at 10.3.
I think I had him at 10.
Okay, I mean he's a 4K wide receiver. Like those are the types of guy like Rondell Moore. What did you like? I had Rondell Moore high in my aggregate.
Rondell Moore at 8.
Yeah, okay. But I don't think that's crazy. I think that's a high variance situation.
Yeah.
Like you can project that
he's all yards after catch. Like
right. And after when Ben got ruled out because of COVID,
yeah.
Like, is Mason Rudolph that? Did you? I mean, it seemed like around the industry that Mason the quarterback.
That's a hard situation.
Like it almost seems like the projections on Harris and Washington and Deontay Johnson came down slightly only because the line came down slightly. I don't think it had anything to do with the underlying metrics, the difference between Ben Roethlisberger and Mason Rudolph.
There's not that big of a difference between Roethlisberger and Rudolph at this point in Roethlisberger's career. And like from a projection standpoint and like from a modeling standpoint, I thought that the Lions would get to like 4-point underdogs. They got to 6-point underdogs. They started as 8-point underdogs. I thought the line was going to move a little bit farther. Vegas hates Roethlisberger at this point. If he's only worth 2 points on the line with Mason
I think it moved 2.5 and across the 7-point zone. So that's a big enough deal. But the reason why the projections for the Steelers went down is
it was just the line.
Right, because they lost 2.5 points implied team total. So that moved them down. Yeah. But I don't think it had anything. Like on another slate, I mean, that game was a 40 total. I mean, I'm not playing Mason Rudolph. Jared Goff at one point in the fourth quarter, the Lions were up and he only threw for like 46 yards passing.
Yeah. I like, for instance, I had Najee Harris, I think is like a 23 projection or something like that. And it dropped down to 21. And I think he lost like a quarter of a catch and 15 yards rushing or something. It was insignificant for the most part. Like it didn't change your opinion of that. It did change my opinion of Deontay Johnson.
Only because you have to figure that their pass rate was going to go slightly down.
Yeah. So it did hurt Deontay Johnson, but it didn't really hurt Najee Harris.
No, I played Harris. I mean, I have no problem with that.
Harris was fine. He was expensive. I didn't want to pay that high up at running back. He was expensive. I didn't really want to pay $8,100 for Jonathan Taylor. I didn't play
Jonathan Taylor when he went out for the big. I'm like, okay, here's a zero return thing, and then of course, thank you Frank Reich for just like, oh, we have this guy that would just not. Once he does well, we're just not going to play him anymore.
It's so stupid. It's like you have this guy who's averaging 6.7 yards per carry on the year or something. Just give him the Derrick Henry treatment. Well, just give him the ball. But he out of all the running backs, he's the one that's not injured. That's true. Take a look at all the injuries this year. Yeah, there is that battle of attrition that you have to care about. For sure. I was really surprised by Christian McCaffrey.
By his outcome or his ownership?
His outcome.
Oh, he could have put up 40 plus points.
Oh, yeah.
He get vultured.
I did not think that the Panthers were going to be comfortable giving him that workload again. I was really surprised.
They need some wins. They need.
They do.
Wins.
Yeah, they have to dig deep. But I thought that Christian McCaffrey, he's been around an 80-80 player, right? So he's been in that bell cow role of 80% rushing market share and he's spent an 80% touchdown market share. But the reason why he's been so good was he also had a 20+% target share and a 20+% touchdown reception share. I penciled him in for like, I didn't drop him that far. I had him maybe 75, 15, 15. So I still had him projected well, but man, they just let him go crazy.
Right. And then Cam vultured him on the first touchdown. Then Chuba Hubbard ran in the other touchdown.
So
Robbie
maybe they
Anderson
aren't going to let him.
All my lineups, my Robbie Anderson, Jacoby Myers lineups from week 4. Great this week.
Yeah, great week. I had a lot of CeeDee Lamb last week. I had so much CeeDee Lamb last week. Not this week.
Right, when he scored almost nothing.
Yeah. Tragic.
Well, the Cowboys dudded.
Oh, yeah. They were so bad last week. And then this week, both the Cowboys and the Chiefs are just like, hey, look, we're still good. So don't.
And then my Buffalo stacks love the fact that Breida has 2 touchdowns, Moss and Singletary. There's 4 rushing touchdowns for the Bill.
Stephon Diggs crushed. That was his first really, really good game of the year.
Right. But when you have Beasley with him, it doesn't 3.5 points in your stacks doesn't do much. Right.
Football is just better when Stephon Diggs is doing well, though.
Is it?
I think so. I appreciate good route runners. I appreciate Stephon Diggs, Antonio Brown in his prime. I appreciate Keenan Allen for being such an incredible route runner. Justin Jefferson's really, really good. I like that kind of stuff because I don't watch football, but I watch highlights. So the more highlights of good route running I see, the happier I am when I lose all of my money after Sunday. Yeah. There's got to be some kind of reprieve,
And in tournaments, if you didn't have the Cowboys defense, you lost.
Yeah, you were shot.
You can't win first place with 23-point defense. Anything else?
Not really. So we could go over the other lineups that I have since we're just going to roast me today.
You want me to scold you on those also?
Yeah. Scold me on this one. So this one is this is my Falcons stack. So get ready to build this up.
Oh, I'm going to build. Okay, I'm building this out. Okay.
Yeah.
And I had a Ryan lineup.
Yeah. I think that the Atlanta stacks, the way that you can build them right now, obviously this week was an aberration because of how much running backs just crushed. But most of the time, you're trying to find upside through your flex, through your wide receivers, through your receivers and your stacks. So I think that it's been really interesting to be able to build Matt Ryan, Cordero Patterson, and Kyle Pitts as a combination in that stack.
Okay, so I got Ryan, Patterson, Pitts. Who's your other running back in that lineup?
Leonard Fournette, and I did have Austin Eckler in this one at flex.
Okay, so let me get Eckler. What are your wide receivers?
Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy.
Oh, Devontae. I was putting in Devontae Adams. No, the other Devontae.
Yeah, the other Devontae.
Devonta Smith, Jerry
Is it
Jeudy.
Devonta or Devontae?
Devonta. Who knows?
Okay, fair enough.
Jerry Jeudy, and who's the third wide receiver?
Michael Gallup.
And then you have a $2,700 defense.
Titans defense.
Okay, or $2,600 defense. You don't mind playing the chalkiest defense? Okay, that's.
Well, I thought the Lions would be the chalkiest defense. Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, I guess Lions and Titans. I guess.
Yeah.
This lineup I have in my projections 136.
That's better.
82% ownership sum. So it's better than the other lineup.
That's better.
Similar ownership at a 4-point higher projection, but 136 is still low for the power sweep.
We're moving up though.
But this is a milli lineup. What are you doing?
I told you what I did this week. I faded too much shot.
This is a large field. These are the lineups that I would make for the slant even. And the slant isn't even that big anymore.
Yeah, this would have been a great slant lineup.
This is a play action lineup.
Oh, it's a slant lineup.
Or whatever. It's not a power sweep lineup.
It's a slant lineup. Let's see what I had this one projected.
So what are you looking at now?
What?
Why do you have to play Eckler in this line? Why are you doing this?
Well, I did
Why
that
is Devonta Smith there at 5,900? So the correlation with Jeudy.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to do that. Like what? Just why can't you just play Dearness Johnson or Ingram in this lineup? Just play someone that set projects better.
I actually did have Dearness Johnson in this lineup at first.
Where?
I dropped down from Fournette to him. And then I think my secondary stack was probably Devontae Adams and
Devontae Smith. Oh, you took out Eckler.
Yeah, I took out Eckler. Right. So I took out Eckler. I dropped down from Fournette to Dearness Johnson.
Okay, let's put that in. Okay, and then what did you do? You have 9,100 for your flex. So obviously,
I definitely didn't have Devontae Smith and Jerry Jeudy, and like when I had the.
So we're basically building the lineup. Okay, and then you're gonna play, right? I can see here, and then you play Adams.
Yeah,
right?
I think I had Devontae Adams in this one.
Right, you play Adams, and maybe you play Metcalf across from him, or something like that.
Yeah, and then I had
5,600 for the flex, and you could play someone at 5,600.
Hold on, who do I like at 5,600? I think honestly, I would have just played Michael Carter there.
And then I would have just said, why are you playing Michael Carter? Let's put Michael Carter there. Okay, this is 145.
Hey, that's a good lineup.
Congratulations. Okay, we made a lineup. Okay, now we made a power sweep lineup.
That was a pretty good one.
Right. Why can't you make these lines? These are fine.
Because I didn't like Dearness Johnson.
Okay, then make Mark Ingram instead.
I hated Mark Ingram. I thought Mark Ingram was a terrible play. Michael Gallup. Let's see. Kyle Pitts. And then who do I have there again?
I don't know. We're completely off track. I have no idea.
Austin Eckler. That's right.
Right. It's a one. We've talked about this, Jay. It's not like do what I say, not what I do type of thing. It's like once you fade at 30 plus, 40 plus % owned players in your lineup, it's like you shouldn't even be considering being contrarian. It should just be what combination of the best remaining players can I make in my lineup at that point?
I know. I faded too much shock this week. I had that one project for 142.
Okay.
So not the worst. Moving like the let's see. I guess the thing that probably dragged down.
Jacob Calloway in chat makes a decent point. Point. Possible. I don't necessarily agree with that.
No. Okay, wait. So we went from decent to possible. So this might actually be defending me?
No, this is no. Jacob's trying to defend you, but I don't think he's correct.
I have people.
You have people. Now Jacob says, I mean, these lineups are still plus EV, just that there were much higher EV lineups for these contests. Like he still makes money with these lineups. The equity realization is long AF. Basically,
right.
Extremely high variance lineups that are still plus EV, just that they lose so much often. But I'd say that may not be true.
It is true. It is true because of how much ownership I was gaining by fading those things. You cannot win
argue once and then you lose 7 million other times.
You cannot argue, Mr. Sir, that it is not plus EV. He makes a good technical point in my favor.
It's a provable point. The reason that I say that it's possible that like that lineup in the Millie Maker is plus EV.
Yeah,
just due to the nature of the field strength and the field size.
Yeah.
And the power sweep, like, is a smaller tournament with higher skilled players.
Yeah,
like it's quite possible that there are so many lineups that are even higher EV than that lineup that it automatically. The EV of a lineup isn't just like it's this and that's it. It's you have to compare it to every other lineup in the contest.
Of course.
So, like in the power sweep, this lineup may win X amount of times, come in second X amount of time. If you simulate it out 1 million times, like it may actually win a couple of times, but not to make up for all the times that it'll lose. Like
the only thing that could happen with these lineups is that they would win or lose. Like there was no point in playing these lineups if I wanted them in cash at all. And to his point, which is technically correct, Jacob, Blender won't say it because he hates me, but it is technically correct. They were still plus EV. Now, I absolutely...
How do you know that? You don't know that.
I absolutely faded too much chalk this week. You are right that I faded too much chalk. I got in my own head, and this is something that happens to everybody except for the great blender, where we get into our heads and sometimes we make bad decisions because we're thinking a little bit too hard about things. The models
I used to do that myself. I used to do that. That's
right, and I still do that sometimes.
I want to highlight, James. I don't like using the term "you faded too much chalk." I think you sacrifice too much projection.
Sure.
Because it's not a matter of like fading the chalk plays or like, because then people get too much focused on should I play this guy or that guy, and I'm just like, no, it's about the whole lineup.
Sure.
So like, to me, you sacrifice too much projection for the contest that you were in.
Yeah.
Not fit. You could, like I said, I showed you lineups that didn't have Dearness Johnson and didn't have Mark Ingram.
You did.
That were playable that you didn't play, and you played a lineup that was 12 points even lower projected. So it's like you could have faded those. I don't want to say that fading both of them was bad. You just had to make a lineup that was projected high enough even after fading that.
Sure. So I think that the thing to take away here, for those who are watching from home and not just like super stoked that Blender is ruining me right now, but for those that are watching from home and want to learn something here, like one, it's okay to admit that like sometimes you do something that's stupid. I built some bad lineups this week. Like I built some lineups that were not competitive for the contest that I was in because I got in my own head and I said, I need to be different, because I looked at all of the chalk and I was like,
you're punk rock. You're a punk rock guy, right? Hardcore, gotta be different.
I am. I gotta be different. And that happens some weeks, you know, like that's going to happen. I think that it's really important to understand. And like the reason why I didn't get like super pissed me, like Blender, shut up. It's like, I can understand my own humility. Like it doesn't matter. I make mistakes sometimes and that's fine. This week, like, and I said it multiple times, was the worst week that I've had in NFL so far this week.
You only have three lineups. The war you making out like, oh my God.
I have cashed at least
lineups.
I have recouped all of my entry fees every week except for 2 so far this week with 3 entries.
That's not that much of a brag.
That's pretty good when you're playing 3 entries the way that I played it.
Yeah. Based on the lineups that I'm seeing, that's a 95th percentile out.
There you go. So I've been doing very, very well this year. And I've had 1%, 2% finishes in the power sweep, 3 out of the 10 weeks so far, which is good. That's awesome. But sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes you have bad weeks. You just like reassess. You say, man, I built some bad lineups this week, and then you move on, and it's fine. Right.
Yeah. I mean, look, 2 weeks ago, I built all my lineups around the game that completely failed, and like all my lineups are dead. It's like, okay.
And this week, I took literally the nut low outcomes. So, you know, it happens.
Right, right. Once you say what quarterbacks you played, it's like, oh, I played Brady, Wilson, and Ryan. I'm like, yep, you did horrible.
Yeah, I did terrible.
Right.
Even if I would have played Dearness Johnson, Mark Ingram, and Ramondre Stevenson, I still would have been on the stacks that I was on.
Right. And you still probably, maybe you min cash.
Maybe I min cash one of them. Yeah.
Right. The Steven, if you played Stevenson, yeah, you would min cash that one.
But like this week, even looking at like, and this is another thing that we talk about sometimes, Blender and I have talked about that before. You got to look at a slate and be like, would I have found any success if I'd have done any small things differently? And for me this week, no. I was shocked.
The small things, you should have projected the players better.
No, the small things that you can change, like even if I go with running backs that are super popular, even if I go with the Dearness Johnson, Mark Ingram combos, I still would have been on Tampa Bay. I would have been on Seattle. I would have been on Atlanta. I would have been on, I would have been on those teams.
I mean, you're talking about the stacks that I played a Matt Ryan lineup. I played a Brady lineup. Right. I mean, but
you were significantly higher on the Dallas stacks. You were significantly higher on the Dallas stacks. Right. That's what saved you this week.
Right.
So I did consider a Dallas stack, but it wouldn't have been something that I would have been gung-ho about. And I think had I played Dearness Johnson and Mark Ingram, I would have been less inclined to play a Dallas stack.
Right.
So the things that I would have done this week, this just wasn't my week, man. Like it just was never going to be my week. And that's okay. That's okay.
It's not like it was that heavily my week either.
No.
I got on the cash choo-choo train and I made some money. Right.
And if I'd have played cash, I'd have had a fine week.
Right, you would have had fun. Right, once you see the train is coming up to the station.
I really should have.
I saw that Sunday morning. I'm listening to shows at like 9:00 as I wake up or whatever, and then I look at projections and I look at some sites and I'm like, dude, everyone's gonna have the same like it's like and it's not everyone's gonna have the same lineup. The lineup that I chose is the one that everyone like. I start from. What lineup would I make based on these projections and everything? I put them all together and I'm like, okay, that's the lineup that I would play in cash. And I'm not playing cash. And then I look around and it's like, oh, apparently everyone is playing this lineup.
Yeah.
So let me, I hear the sound, the steam coming or whatever. It's an old fashioned train.
Yeah.
I hear the boop, the thing comes down like, and I'm just getting on board. I'm like a hobo getting on board the boxcar type of thing. I know
it's Sunday on the train.
Getting on board. Let's go.
Yeah, I should have played cash this week, and I would have been fine. I would have broke even, I think.
Yeah, you would have made enough money. I mean, that lineup. I mean, dude, that lineup was so duped that halfway through the slate, I'm like, I don't know if any of these are going to even be full double up. Right? Because I mean,
losing the rate.
It's a $50 double up, and it's like $43.33. I'm like, what? And but it got there. So like it was a full cash in most double ups. I just tied in half my head decks,
which is that's annoying. And like since when I do play cash, I play majority head to heads. Like I would have had to email DraftKings and been like, "Can I get my rake back? Can you give me more?" But
they do it automatically. Don't worry about it.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, they do it. They do it once a week. You'll see it in your transaction history.
Have they always done that?
Only for the past maybe year and a half or so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say, I remember having to send emails and say, hey.
FanDuel, you have to email them.
Oh.
I do, but you could do it once a month. Like in RotoTracker, there's a draws report.
Yeah.
And it even gives you an email template. So it's like cut and paste this email template, and it lists all the contest types, and I just email support, and within 6 hours, I get a response back from FanDuel support. It's like, your blah, 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 blah. Your account's been credited for $17.16, whatever.
Yeah.
And I do that once a month. I have it on my to-do list once a month to do.
How great is RotoTracker?
What?
How great is RotoTracker?
I mean, I'm not like you who could do all that type of stuff in Excel, but
no, it's great.
You don't have a draws report, so maybe.
No, I do not have a draws. They are better than I am.
You have to build for yourself, I guess. Because you have to import your CSV. You have to do. Why don't you just use RotoTracker?
I do use RotoTracker.
Oh, okay. I thought you built your own little thing to.
I mean, I have like my own I have my own betting results trackers, but like I use RotoTracker for DFS.
Okay, so that's week 10. I win, you lose.
Yeah, I lost this week. I'll get you next week. Next week is going to be my week.
Okay, we'll see. Well, maybe we have the AJ Dillon chalk week.
Oh,
I think Aaron Jones is out for 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Right? People could get if you want. If you're a big fan of playing Donovan Peoples-Jones, James, where can people find your projections?
PaterDFS.com. And I have, let's see, the NBA optimizer is pretty much fully functional at this point, which is cool. I've been building that up. I want to build an optimizer for Counter-Strike and League of Legends for the beginning of the season too. So those are the projects that I'm working on moving forward. And then you can find me on Twitter at Pater_DFS. And you can go berate my lineups for the rest of the day on Twitter as well.
Is it a bad sell for your projections that every week you come on and I go, well, that one was off. Oh, that one was it's off terrible. Or whatever. But if you want these projections, they're more than willing.
Yeah.
And if you want to play 88% of your lineup having Donovan Peoples-Jones in it out of your 150, this is the place to go. That should be a selling point.
You know, when Cortland Sutton was crushing with the projection that you said was terrible, that was great.
Yeah, but I was playing Cortland Sutton. I was
the Donovan Peoples-Jones era of my projections for the last 2 weeks. Actually, 1 week was great. This week, not so great. 2.6 fantasy points.
But as always, you could feel free to pick up more of this type of conversation. 15 hours of it. In the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports, how to think like a professional DFS player. It's 15 hours of, I mean, maybe it's not me berating James. It's game objectives, player selection, expected value, leverage, correlation, construction, risk management, exploit, psychology, bunch of miscellaneous stuff. Here's some testimonials and everything. It's all the stuff that me and James talk about on a week-to-week basis on the DFS pregame show every day in one package. So you don't have to like watch hundreds of hours of shows in order to think more like, more like the pros do, right? So theoryofdfs.com. You can follow me at BlenderHD on Twitter. We got tons of shows today. We got I'll be back. I'm back. I'll be back twice today. Okay, we got NBA Grinders live later today, 5:10, I believe 5:10, and then the NFL pre-lock show for the showdown tonight. That's at 7:30 Eastern. I'm on that also. So I'll be back. So hit that like button, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button if you're new here, hit the notification bell to know when we go live, including, I'll be back. I'll be back on this channel, and I'll be back tomorrow as I normally am, Monday through Friday, for the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders.com.